I wanted to take a moment to give you some tips and tricks for assignment 2. I did notice that a lot of folks really struggled with answering the questions in these assignments. You need to answer all of the questions fully. And here's a great technique for answering essay questions, test questions. It's a format called RACE. This is a handy guide I made while on a long teleconference about helping students answer key questions, essay questions, and making sure that everyone has the tools they need to tackle some of these general education questions. I thought I'd whip this together quickly because I did notice that a lot of folks had trouble with the concept of answering a question in an academic way. So this is a quick guide, and it's called the RACE technique. First, you restate the question. Then you answer the question by providing details about the question itself, the information that you've gleaned in the context of these assignments. It's from the book chapter, Steve Johnson, 2014, How We Got to Now. That's where you should center most of your responses. Then, of course, you cite. So you provide additional evidence using the literature. I was quite lenient for the first assignment, but for assignment 2, I'm going to have to see you using the course materials instructed in the assignment sheet. So ensure that you are citing the right materials as outlined on the assignment sheet, because I'm going to be a lot more harsh this time because I really need to see that you've consumed these course materials. Then you provide some context. You share some of the explanations around why the answer is important. And this typically takes the form of contextualizing your answer, talking about why it's important to society, cultures, innovation itself. This is where you provide that sort of soaring statement at the very end, talking about why this is important in the context of history or our current contemporary culture. So let's take a moment here to talk a little bit about something I encountered while doing my PhD research. No more than that. You don't want to fill up your word count Matilda effect with just a restatement of the question. The practice. But you should rephrase it because they gave it essentially the thesis that women in science. That's the argument you were making. Science, technology, engineering, and math. To acknowledge the question, their ideas are so often appropriated and acknowledge it in the writing of your response that they came up with. Don't take up much more than about a sentence of the purposes of your assignment 2, whose ideas were stolen effectively by senior. A stands for answer the question. In this case, with assignment 2, you're going to want to really focus on paraphrasing the research you've done in the chapter, as well as a secondary source. And remember to pick a secondary source, a research material that is notable, which means it's from a credible source, or peer-reviewed, which means it's from a peer-reviewed journal. You really want to center most of your effort in the response to this answer the question, sharing examples and details, and an argument as to why this is your answer. I am going to be enormously strict with this cite your evidence, because the assignment sheet is very, very prescriptive, very commanding that you have to use Stephen Johnson's chapter to mount your answer. So citations for this next assignment will be critically important. Please look at the chapter, use content from the chapter to support your answer. This is critically important to the best possible grade you can get. I will not be as lenient as I was for the first assignment, and I will ensure that you absolutely need to have read that chapter on Thomas Edison and the light bulb, the chapter on light. You should have consumed that to mount your answer, and you'll need to cite that book particularly and a secondary source, another article, to provide your answers. So support for your answers with this cite your evidence, is critical to a good mark on assignment 2. And finally, E, explain your answer. In this context, you're going to be contextualizing, situating your response in the context of history, perhaps, or how our culture was changed, or how our society benefited from the response that you're providing. So in assignment 2, you're going to want to show and demonstrate that you understand the implications of what your response to that chapter on light, Steven Johnson, 2014, How We Got to Now, how that helps your answer in terms of contextualizing, talking about the implications, again, historically, socially, economically. This is where you sum up your response and provide that context. I want to spend a few minutes talking about assignment 2. Now, this lecture is important to assignment 2, as is the chapter. Steven Johnson, How We Got to Now, the chapter on light. Now, each of our editions are different. I have the 2014 edition. It starts around page 200, and you want to read till about page 15. So not a lot of reading. The key here is you're really honing in on how Thomas Edison wasn't necessarily the sole inventor of the light bulb, and how, it wasn't just a single discovery. And this is the key point you want to take away from this course, and you want to really delve into with this assignment. So I'm going to go through the assignment 2. It's worth 15% of your mark. It is due July 10th at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So make sure that you're looking at your time zone. If you're not in the Eastern Daylight Savings, Eastern Standard Time Zone, please make sure you do the conversion. And the assignment goes like this. When we think about great inventions in history, we often think about them as a result of a solitary inventor. In the case of the light bulb, we tend to think of Thomas Edison as its inventor. However, as discussed in the chapter on light in our required textbook, Thomas Edison's light bulb instead represents an improvement on inventions developed many years previously. Remember the video in this lecture where it talks about the fact that Thomas Edison actually purchased patents from other folks and then tried to develop them. Thomas Edison's light bulb was also the result of many individuals working in the world's first research lab. That's that Menlo Park. As is stated, that Thomas Edison's greatest innovation was his development of creative teams and workplace structure. Please answer the following questions in paragraph format, and that paragraphs have at least 5 sentences. What are the ways in which Thomas Edison's light bulb is not the invention of a single person? What are the ways in which Thomas Edison's light bulb is not invented through a single discovery? And Thomas Edison invented new technology, but also designed a new system for inventing. Who were Thomas Edison's muckers? How did they represent new ways of inventing? How were they rewarded? And what does Thomas Edison mean when he says he's more of a sponge than an inventor? Now, I'm going to spend some time in the subsequent slides talking about issues with your assignment 1. And this was kind of across the board, so I wanted to give them special attention. Again, please tell folks that you know in this class, these video lectures are really important to consume. And I'm seeing that not a lot of people consume them because I'm going to give you some of the keys to the kingdom in terms of how to get better marks on your assignments. So stay tuned for a couple of the issues I noticed in assignment 1. I was quite lenient. I'm not going to be as lenient this next assignment. I really want you to master the academic art of citing your work, making sure you're using APA formatting and citations properly, and I'm going to take you through that in the next slides. One of the things I noticed is a lot of people struggled with in-text citations. So when you are doing an academic assignment, it is critically important, and in other contexts, very important to your academic career and your work life, just to cite the work that you're using. So if you read something and you're paraphrasing that information, you need to cite. And in this case, and this is an example from the APA guide, which a lot of you probably got links from in both the section on research in week 1 or in my comments with regard to your assignment 1. You really need to master in-text citations. And the thing I like about APA is it's a very simple citation style. It actually asks for real economy, really short references. So in this case, if you were referencing Jones, as is this example here, according to Jones, 1998, so that's the year of the publication, quote, students had difficulty using APA style, especially when it was their first time. So you can see here that this is how you execute a quote, a short quote in an essay. You're using the last name of the author, the year of publication in brackets right after that last name. You're doing the quote, you're closing the quote, and then in brackets, at the end of the sentence, you're saying whatever page number you got that quote from in your required text in the case of assignment 2, which is page 199 in this example. I'm including a link here as well to drive you to the in-text citation link with the University of Purdue. It's a great resource. Here's an example of a paraphrase and an in-text citation for that paraphrase. So according to Jones, last name of the author, brackets, 1998, date of publication, APA style is a difficult citation format for first-time learners. So you can see that that in-text citation is right there for something that you're drawing information from an original source and you're paraphrasing to use to execute your argument in the answers to your questions. This is, again, a very simple, I think, citation style in that it asks very little of you in terms of just simply last name of the author and brackets year of publication. And if you do that, when someone is grading your work, they're going to see that it's richly cited. And I would say err on the side of oversighting so that you can show that you have done your research, you've done your homework, you've engaged with the course text, and you've provided an answer on that basis. This is a paraphrase. And you can see the previous example was a quote. That's how you execute in-text citations for APA. The last thing that I noticed was a lot of people had challenges with what would be called, under APA style, the reference section, which is your bibliography, the sources that you used. You simply must make sure that those are included. And again, I was quite lenient last time because I know it's the first assignment, but I really will be quite a stickler for this assignment too. In APA style, the reference section, which must be included in your assignment, should have all lines after the first line of each entry in your reference. They need to be indented 1/2 of an inch from the left margin. This is called a hanging indentation. I'm providing a link, and I have provided in lots of the feedback I've provided to individual learners how to make an APA essay format. There are lots and lots of examples online. Simply Google APA reference section and you'll see what that should look like. There's tons of tips and tricks for how to do that hanging indentation. It's fiddly, I know, but you use the ruler of whatever word processing tool you use and indent that second line about 1/2 inch. I'm not going to measure that, by the way, so get it close. All authors' names should be inverted, so last name should be provided first. The author's first and middle name should be written as initials. For example, the reference entry for a source written by Jane Marie Smith would begin Smith, comma, J, period, M, period. So the reference section is really important to get right, and it will be so important for your assignment too. So thanks for listening to this. These were some of the common issues I noticed in some of the submissions for assignment 1. I know you'll do better this time. And please let folks in the class know to check out this video lecture. It's super important that they consume it.